Hey everybody, Brandon here, and you're watching ADHD Game Dev. So cool to have you here. Thank you to everybody who has subscribed, and if you haven't subscribed already, I do this kind of content all the time, talking about video game design. And yeah, hey, let's talk. So I was thinking about video game design and the idea of game design, like board games or traditional games. So if you think about a game like baseball, you've got a core game loop going on. You get 3 tries to swing at a ball that's thrown to you, and if you hit it, you get to try to run to the base, and you try to get there before somebody tags the base with the ball or touches you with the ball. If you do that, then the game loop repeats, and the next person moves around like clockwork around the bases, okay? Okay, you know that. Take that and look at a video game. We look at a video game like Tetris. Blocks are coming down. You get a chance to move them side to side. You can rotate them. You try to fit them into place. And if they all fit in a line, that line deletes itself and the level goes up, right? Video game design and game design are all the same thing. I think sometimes, at least in my universe over here, I can get so caught up in the mechanics of making video games that you can kind of lose sight of the forest for the trees. But you have to remember that at the end of the day, you are making a game. You are making an experience. You are making a set of rules in place that you want people to engage with. And when you take your video games and you start sharing them out with people, oh my gosh, it is like, What amazes me first, the first thing that hit me just square between the eyes is just how many blatantly obvious clues a player can miss. And at the end of the day, if the player doesn't know how to play your game, it's not their fault, it's your fault. And it doesn't matter how clear you are. If you have to put a flashing neon sign, I'll give you a fast example. And it was in Fold Up. I had them trying to jump across a little block, and my players were sitting there, and they refused to push any buttons. And the character runs up. There's a little block. I wanted to make it a fast fail loop right there. So you hit the block, and they have to jump over it. They refused to push the button. Okay, I put a flashing arrow on the button. They still didn't push it. I tried again. I finally got to the point where I paused the game and put an arrow that says, push button. It was amazing that people did not interact with an interactive medium. But at the end of the day, you have to remember that when you're designing a game, it is completely on you to explain those rules and to set up that satisfying game loop. And part of that learning that I got into with people was to do that fast fail and retry. That's really important, fast fail, retry. So if you could set up a game where you can slowly introduce those rules and have a satisfying set of rules and a satisfying set of interactions that people can get into, you're going to be a lot more likely to have a successful game for them. And taking into account all of that human experience, that psychology that goes into it is probably one of the things that really fascinates me the most. And I can get so heads down forgetting to look up and see the rest of it that there's so much of this meta content that goes into creating a game. You're creating that game experience. You're trying to explain rules to them. You're trying to tell a satisfying story with a beginning and a middle and an end and a satisfying conclusion. Like if you went to watch a movie from somebody and just sort of was all over the place and you couldn't follow what the movie was about, you wouldn't have a good experience. Or if they didn't have a good rising action and the denouement at the end where it gets to the conclusion, and I used a big word, it gets to the conclusion, you feel like it was a satisfying experience, you wouldn't want to go and watch that filmmaker anymore. As a game designer, you get into all of that same kind of psychology going on. So it's not just a matter of, is my code good or is my art any good? It is all that content about psychology and about telling a compelling story and about giving somebody a satisfying experience that goes into it. So yeah, game design is so unlike anything else, and I find it to be really interesting and exciting. But I am thinking today about what I can learn in specific about what to learn about game design from board games that I have made. I've made board games for people to play, and it's so important to be able to get them into a satisfying game loop there. So think about that and tell me what you think. I know I'm a little all over the place. That happens on my these little diary entries. So anyway, what can you learn about board games and video games together? It's so so interesting. All of these different disciplines coming together into one medium to make something that is so different from anything else. I think that's why video games are so compelling, is because they combine storytelling, they combine, like, at times, filmmaking, they combine game creation and everything all in one place, and I just don't think there's anything else like it. Anyway, I hope that is interesting to you, and do please sub if you haven't already, and I'll ramble at you again later. I hope you have an awesome day today. Bye now.